Ross, of course, is the president of the council. Dave Bailey is the assistant.
Assistant?
Yeah, I call him the assistant.
They used to have, in the village council, used to be the president pro tem.
It still is there.
It is?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice term.
And just for
Don't
you,
know what it means.
Just for you, they didn't change it. It still persists.
Okay.
Okay. And the other people on this board are Maureen Helmuth, and she's been on this board for quite a while. She also serves on the Planning Commission. And let me see, what else goes on? Anyway, she's pretty familiar. She's been with the village for a lot of years, and you actually give her an address and she'll tell you who lived there in the last generation. When the street was put in, when the tree was planted in the corner of the lot. I mean, she's very informative.
Oh.
Maureen Helmuth. And then there's Kate Logan, who is one of the newest people on the council, and Allison Kemp also serves on that board. Now, Joe Madure, who's the village manager, was there, as was Terry Onika, who's the clerk, and Bob Davis. Now, you don't go far without Bob Davis, the attorney.
Well, when there's a decision to be made, someone needs to validate it.
Yeah, they'll say, hey, who wants to make this decision? Not me, not me, not me. Bob Davis says, well, I'll do it.
Hey, Bob.
This is good, Bob. Okay, so they did the preliminaries, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. The agenda was approved for that evening. Presentation, hey, you got any presentations? No, no presentations. So public hearing was next. Prohibition of marijuana. Here we are back to marijuana again.
It's about prohibition of marijuana?
Prohibition. It's a temporary thing because there's a hold on it right now.
You know what happened during the last prohibition, right? All those speakeasies opened up.
But they don't have to put this stuff in bottles, I don't think. Maybe they do. How do they package?
That would
I have
truly
no
be
idea.
strange.
Well, I think you could tell us more if you want to.
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't think you'd better. Okay.
I don't think I know.
All right, okay. Probably the only thing he doesn't know, but if I know him well, which I think I do, he will find out and he'll report it to you next time. Be careful how much of that stuff you try.
I didn't know you knew what I knew.
Hey, we know what we know, folks. And you'll learn more, too, as you pay attention to this show, especially with this gentleman next to me here. Okay, public hearing was an issue, and it's ordinance number 411. And it was given to Mario, who is a planning individual that takes consultant. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And so anyway, he proposed an ordinance, which the council is looking at. It was sent from the Planning Commission, and I believe there's still a little bit more work to be done on it yet. So they haven't come to the point where they have to opt out, which is on September 1st. And when they do, in order to opt out, they have to have an ordinance in place from the village. And what do they call it? A sunset clause also in there that can be expanded beyond the 1-year term limits, you know, to have this no-op program out there for the village.
Is it sunset or sundown, sunset?
Sundown, sunset. You know a song.
Swiftly flow the... No, never mind.
We'll save that one for another time, folks. So the next thing that they did talk about was called to the public, and there were a couple of people that spoke. One individual was concerned about, hey, how do you take care of the ordinance for chickens? If you're going to have a chicken ordinance, how many chickens are you allowed? You know, 3 chickens?
It almost sounds derogatory, a chicken ordinance.
It is a chicken ordinance. Don't run from the chickens. They feed them exorbitant amounts of strength, powering chicken feed. So pit bulls, they don't show anything compared to what these chickens are going to be. But the question was, the ordinance control officer has difficulty keeping up everything that goes on within the village. Now, what are you going to do by adding chickens? You know, well, what are you going to ensure that there's no roosters living with these chickens? You know, do they have a permit to stay? I don't think so.
And how do you question a chicken if they've ever been with a rooster?
You know, just take his cluck and go on.
I see.
Unless he can pay. Let him do what he wants. By the way, most people don't realize this. If you're raising chickens for eggs, you can't have eggs without a rooster. So you must be raising these chickens
Like I said,
to kill
was there
Fluffy.
a rooster in the woodpile there?
Right. But you could be wiping out Fluffy or Teddy Bear or whatever the chicken's name is and having them for lunch. That would be the reason, I think, for having chickens. Not for pets. I mean, they don't make the best pets in the world. They have a tendency to not wear diapers. They pull all over the place. They get stinky after a while. They attract rats sometimes. because
And
of the
foxes.
food. And foxes. And but here you are. You're getting rid of all these little chipmunks, and they don't attract anything except people.
By the way, how's my trap working?
I think you've got it greased because they run in, they take the food, and they run out. That was intentional, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure.
You just got a bunch of smart ones there.
Oh yeah, I think it's when you dropped them off last time. I got smart ones. They learned, what not to do and what to do. So they're
Well.
slippery little vermin. But anyway, they're cuter than the Dickens.
have you
though.
caught any?
No. I've seen them run in, grab the food, and run back out again before the door comes down. They're really sharp, these little buggers.
Something's wrong there.
Yeah, telling. Only David would give me a trap that won't work.
That's why you call it a live trap.
They're gonna live forever. Anyhow, let's get back to this thing. Correspondence.
Are they little chipmunks going neener, neener? as they-
I think they are. Well, in your area, they row these little canoe boats, but anyway,
Well,
yeah, a little bit of high tide there where you're at.
they're amphibious.
Where I'm at, I'm on top of a hill, so all that stuff rolls down the hill, which some of my neighbors don't appreciate, but it does happen. But anyway, let's get back to this. Next thing we're going to talk about is the consent agenda for the Oxford Village Council, and we'll talk about that when we come back right after this.
Welcome to Oxford Community Television. We are proud that our 4 communities continue to choose local programming, local news, sports, community issues, familiar faces, celebrations, and commitment to each other. Welcome to Oxford Community Television.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about the Village Council meeting that occurred the other day. And now we're going to talk about the consent agenda, which comprised...
Always a
of-
controversial thing,
It is sometimes, a little bit, whole lot, sometimes.
but not today.
Not today. Correspondence was one of the items on the list, covered. Letters, reports, what else? Minutes, previous minutes. Opening of, what? Oh, approval of the existing minutes. Bills, get this, $440,000, $297.75.
That's cool. That's cool.
$440,000
In a month?
in a month. That's a lot.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
there must have been things to do.
They had a big bill, I think. Bigger bill, much larger bill than what
Wow.
was anticipated.
Well,
But
and
it-
maybe, does that include salting away money for this MDOT thing?
There is no salt to salt away.
There's no salt to salt away? No?
Gonna be saltless.
No. Is the village's portion already set aside?
No, but I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why it's probably so high. They're about
I
to pay
thought
off-
that would come.
It's to pay off a particular bond that's going to be coming due. So I think that would be it, as a big portion of this bill. So anyway, that's good. They pay off bills. Now that means that, hey, we can have some new bills, right? That's the way it works. I think that's the way I've seen it work. But anyway, maybe not in this case.
We'll call that a spike.
Right. Also, let me see, what did they do? Let me see, report for treasury report and quarterly account balance was also discussed. And all this was put on record,
I hope so.
received and filed.
Receive and file.
Those are the magic words.
Those are the-
Receive it and file it. And make new bills. Right? That's the way it works. Okay, next thing was the unfinished old business, which you can call unfinished business, because it is old business as well as unfinished business, right?
Sure.
Okay. I was waiting for that answer to come out. Chickens.
Oh, boy.
Chicken ordinance. And the question is, if they don't lay eggs, and you're going to wipe out these chickens after a certain age, and Fuzzy or Fluffy or whatever the chicken's name is, is going to end up on the dinner table. Where are you going to kill these little buggers?
So the ordinance
be in
officer
town?
has to check for eggs?
I think they have to check for murderers in this town.
Who killed Chicken Little?
Right. And once they find out who killed Chicken Little, there are going to be some new ordinances
But,
and some new bills.
so basically these are
Chickens.
No
Roosters.
roasters or fryers, but not layers.
Yes. Pretty much.
Okay.
And when it's all finished, it's going to be scrambled
So
chickens.
where do they get the next chicken?
I don't know. You have to find out which one crossed the road first.
Oh,
You get
they're-
the first one, then
I don't
there's a
know.
bunch of them waiting in line.
If that's the case, do they buy little chicks and have to raise
Yeah.
them up until they're nice and fat and juicy? Or do they actually buy fully grown chickens?
No, I think they raise chicks. Little chicks.
Which-
Baby chicks.
From what?
From egg.
Oh,
From a,
does that violate the ordinance?
It could be from a foreign chicken
Ah,
that was
okay.
imported in,
I see.
an alien.
An outsider.
Probably speaks Spanish or the chicken. Okay, so however they get in here, they get in here. But chickens have the same issue, I think, except they get to be annihilated later. I think that if I was a smart chicken, I'd be looking around for a rooster. Wouldn't you?
Be looking for an open gate.
But if they could discover that there's a rooster, the rooster's got to go. So, chicken, just sneak out with them.
Either that or they're going, hey, sailor.
Right. Okay, we pretty much killed the chicken here. So that's an issue. Now, in my mind's eye, I can't for the life of me figure out why people in the village or city would want to have a chicken farm.
But they could only limited to 3?
Only 3 chickens, I understand.
I see.
Now, that might change, though, because I don't think there's actually an ordinance in place, although there's been recommendation.
I've heard the 3 before.
Yep. And the recommendation is running very strong with the attorney in the village. So we'll have to see how this thing actually comes down. Now, they tried to cover this in previous years, but of course the council voted it down. They said at that time that if you're going to grow chickens, you need to be in an agricultural area. And I'm not all sure.
Chickens are capable of flying, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
So,
Most people don't know that, but they can fly.
but some chickens have something clipped on their wings so they can't fly?
You can actually not clip you can clip the wing, you can cut the feathers on the tip, and they can't fly.
I
But
see.
That's the way chickens handle
Well,
it.
we don't want them flying the coop.
Well, not only that, but if your next door neighbor doesn't want chickens, and all of a sudden he's got chickens coming over the fence, guess where the chickens might come up missing,
On his table.
right? So anyway, it's an issue. I think it's an error in doing this. I believe that chicken stock, cow stock, cattle should be out in agriculture. And I believe there are some regulations statewide.
If it's chickens now, is it parakeets next?
Could be, or it could be alligators. Could be maybe not
see.
alligators. Got to be in warm weather. Although the climate change.
I hear it tastes like chicken.
Well, it's snake. I mean, you can have snake, anything along that line. I think that there are people that consider a snake as a pet. They can have that. But where do you raise snakes? You don't raise them on a farm. They grow naturally. Well, anyway, those are all subjects, aren't they? All right. So
We digress.
East Burdick Street. I want to talk about East Burdick Street now because, let me see, they wanted a amendment to the PUD, which is the Planned Unit Development. And you know who that concerns, and that would be Dave Weckel. And he's been through a real frustrating period now
Oh,
for
yeah, the
last year.
title search and stuff like that.
What they
yeah.
discovered
Is?
is that no title or no deed was prepared on record.
For the
Also,
original property, or what?
well, several pieces of property that they wanted to join here. According to Oakland County, there never was a deed filed. And also,
So if there was never a deed filed, who owns it?
well, somebody's been paying taxes on it for all this period. They would probably look at that person as being the ownership.
Squatters' rights.
But it's been a real research to get this.
Huh?
For example,
And it's been delaying his implementation of those office buildings.
right. And actually, the checking the property, plots, that kind of thing, as far as areas owned by who. That wasn't on record as well. So actually, Mr. Weckel could not get financing from a bank, anyone that would handle it, of course, because how do you provide monies to someone who you can't define where the property's at? So anyway, here's where Glenn Pape came in, and also Joe Madore. They got together, went through the archives down the basement, and discovered some pieces and bits of information. This happened, they discovered in 1993, the bulk of it. So whoever was the village manager at that time and the staff would have been an issue where the proper records weren't maintained. So they know who it was that was a difficulty, but they say, well, let's fix it, you know, so this gentleman can get his PUD. Now he's willing to back out because it was such a long time. He was expensing a great amount of money.
He's had these plans for several years.
Yeah, and he's actually cleared property, you know, for this. And not being able to get it financed is devastating to a developer. So they went through everything, went through Oakland County, refiled the deeds, did the proper surveys, have all that on record now, and they sat down with Mr. Weckel, who was very frustrated, and were able to work out an agreement for the new PUD, which will run until 2020, sometime in September, I believe. So that gives him enough adequate time in order to build his structures. So,
Or to begin building it, in any
or
case.
begin building it, yes. So that's it right now. We'll talk about more when we come back, right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nickel.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we were talking about the village council. Now, one of the last things that they did discuss was a charter spectrum franchise renewal. And after some conversation, it was agreed that they'd go forward with it, and they did sign it. So that'll be an advantage to the...
Which includes a PEG fee.
It does. And it's 2% PEG fee. And actually, every township that we provide services from OCTV has to agree to this if they want the services. Unfortunately, years before, Charter and AT&T actually were playing games, you know, with the people that were administrators at that time and did not provide knowledgeable information that they needed to sign up for these PEG fees in order to get them. So some townships did not receive them, or villages. So
But
back on track.
the ball was dropped, but now it's back in their court.
Yeah, that big old thunder you heard hit the ball going into the pool cue.
It's a long time for the ball to be dropped, though.
It was. Okay, but anyway, that's all straightened out now. There are some people that requested additional information from Oxford Community Television, administrators here, in which they say the state is requesting information. That would be from the village. Other than that, everything is pretty much ready to go. Hopefully, this will get resolved in the next few days.
Yay, Dave.
Yeah, yay, Dave. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is the Downtown Development Authority, which was held on July 8th. And the meeting was called to order at 3 p.m. and they did the normal respect for the flag and those kind of things. People serving on the board is Pete Schultz, who's the chairman. Dorothy Johnston serves on this board. Elgin Nichols and Sue Oles and Rod Charles serve on it. Members were absent were Nicole Ellsworth, and she was excused. Joe Frost also had business with the county, and Michelle Klein were excused. One of those guys.
Yep.
Anyway, they're excused.
And excused. Excused.
Excused and excused.
Excuse
They weren't
me.
there and they were excused. Okay. Others present were, let me see, the executive director, Glenn Pape. Approval of the agenda was made immediately for July 8th. And public comment? None. No
Zip,
public
zip.
comment? Zip, zip. Yep. New business amendment for Weckel. PUD, the PUD for Burdick Street properties. And that was under discussion again.
At the Downtown Development Authority.
Right. And DDA had to provide the premise, for the Village of Oxford to go forward with this.
A premise?
Yeah, the legal portion of it, as far as approval, the DDA said, yeah, it was a problem, and it was explained by Glenn Pape and all the rigmarole they had to go through in order to get everything all straightened out in terms of historical information as to what happened to this property and the reason why he could not get his financing for it.
But his property is in the geographic area of the Downtown Development Authority.
Right.
Okay.
And the downtown development, with the help of Glenn Pape and Joe Madure, got this all straightened out and sent it in documented form to the village council, which we just talked about. So that was unfortunate that happened to that piece of property because they wanted to move forward with it about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and it's just been dragging ever since.
Yep.
To the point where a developer said, hey, enough is enough, I'm gonna walk away from it. And these two gentlemen, Madure and Pape, put it back together through sitting down with the guy that owns the property or would propose to own the property.
Okay.
So, there we have it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Board members' comments, no real serious issues here, except one thing was pointed out by yours truly, that for the M24 project that's coming up, that we need to provide information coalition with OCTV, meeting with Terry Stiles, executive director here in production, and work out some promos. Making you folks out there know what's going on with M24, right down to the main details. You can also gain more information about M24 by going to the DDA website in Oxford.
Needless to say, things will happen, and they will happen next spring.
It will happen next
So be
spring.
prepared.
Yep, starting in March is what the proposal is, and running through November is the way it looks now. But you can learn more about traffic patterns and flag people that are going to be on the road as construction is being done. So that you folks don't run into each other trying to get through Main Street, Washington when this all goes on, right? Okay, so anything...
It'll be an adventure.
Yeah, and everything is going to be well planned out, so hopefully it will ease the pain somewhat in both the businesses downtown and you folks that are traveling south.
North.
South is no problem. You go south, north, now there's a big problem.
Well,
Well, maybe not so much. You go down Drainer Road and cut over on Glassby, go to Ray, and then which will bypass you, from downtown if you're traveling north.
but if you want to go downtown, you can then head south.
Yeah, there will be signage. There'll be signage, and so you folks will have access, to the back of the businesses. Hopefully, there won't be too much of a disruption by doing that. Okay, and it takes more than hope. There's a lot of people involved in terms of marketing and other things with the DDA. So hold on to your seats. It's gonna happen within the next year. So, and you'll say, I was there, right? All right, the other thing I want to mention too is the Board of Trustees regular meeting they had last night. And on that board, of course, is a number of people that you all recognize. There's Bill what's his name? That Bill.
Done.
Got it. I was waiting for you to say that. Anyway, he's a good guy. He's on top of everything. The board itself is very knowledgeable what goes on, trying to assist you. One of the things I wanted to bring up here, the other is basic business. But the one thing that they wanted to talk about was the Board of Trustees creating a full-time communications and grants manager position for the township. Now, the superintendent or supervisor of Orion Township was there, Chris Barnett, and he explained that about 2 years ago, they hired an individual to come in and handle the grant and plus do some other things, you know, for the supervisor and others within the office, that they were kind of run over by a lot of extra work that they couldn't keep up to. So this person would take up part of the gap here. And he said that over the 2-year period, by having somebody committed and dedicated to grants, they were able to pick up to almost $4 million in grant money just through hiring this individual. And he recommended doing this, you know, for Oxford Township as well. I did
A business person would say that's a great ROI, return on investment.
Right. And what they're looking for is somebody with a communications degree and also a degree in business or some business background experience. So that's what they found. They found a lady from that resided in Florida, and she took the job. Has been very efficient.
She worked in Florida?
She did work in Florida.
Okay.
But I did a little research also in the state of Michigan. Actually, the MTA, the Michigan Township Association, has several township entities that have done this, and each one have pointed out that it's been very successful. This money goes back to you folks out there, you know, by getting all these grants and also finding other more efficient ways to handle things.
Right.
So that's a good thing, I think.
Thing
for
with
Oxford
grants, though,
Township.
they're for very specific purposes.
Right. Now, they haven't really decided on particulars for this job at this point. There's some tweaking to be done. There's a subject of pay and also, of course, benefits, that kind of thing. And that'll be coming up more than likely in the next meeting that we have sometime in August. Until then, what's coming up?
Not much.
That's it?
Well,
Not much?
on 7/25 at 7 p.m., the Oxford Township Planning Commission will meet, and that's it.
That's it? What are they going to talk about?
I don't know.
Well, me neither. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch us next time right here on Men's 5 Minutes.